So I see you have the headband on. Is that the Hamas headband?
Yes, it is.
And do you why are you in support of Hamas?
They all wishes for us to die, kill us, bomb us. That's what they want.
Zionist is a terrorist. Zionists are the people causing this genocide right now.
If we like read a dictionary definition, what does that mean?
Oh, I mean, let's Google it.
Okay. So from my understanding, do you believe it would be justified if people of Native American ancestry, whatever that is considered, decided to go into the homes of people here in Chicago and murder them in their beds? Do you think that would be justified? All right, guys, we're here in Chicago at the pro-Palestinian event. Let's go talk to people, see what's going on. Would you be interested in doing an interview by chance?
Yeah. That's
Cool. All right. Is the exposure good and everything?
Where's this going to?
I have a YouTube channel. Oh, you don't want to wear the headband?
They're telling me to take it off.
What's that?
They're telling me to take it off.
Oh, if you're gonna wear it during you might as well wear it. That's part of the reason. All right. So, is it still like? So why are we out here today?
Protesting to free Palestine, man.
Right.
We want our country back. You know, over 75 years, we welcome the Jews. We welcome the Jewish people, and you know, because we're friendly. We don't have anything against them. We welcome them in, and next thing we know, we're being kicked out of our land. We're being kicked out of our place, because that's where that's all we know, is our land. Little kids, little girls, women, men, we're all fighting to get our country back because that's all we want,
And when you say that, what do you mean? Like, what is that? Is that 67 borders? Is that 48? Is that like, what are we talking about, country back?
We want it all back. We want every single piece of land, every single acre. We want it all back. We'll welcome them in, but not like how we did before.
Sure.
They're recreating the Holocaust. But for us, we're in the position that they were in. That's what they're doing.
So I see you have the headband on. Is that the Hamas headband?
Yes, it is.
And why are you in support of Hamas?
They're our freedom fighters. They're the people that are sticking up for us. Our own government, the Sulta, that's what they're called. They don't stick up for us. They don't do anything for us. Hamas help us. Hamas, contrary to what the news says, those guys have actually helped us through everything. They've given food, water, they haven't beheaded one single kid. I can promise you that.
But what about, you don't think they killed even like a single civilian in Israel, like whatsoever?
Obviously that there are civilians that are gonna get hurt, but what Israel is doing, they're straight up just bombing civilians, For us, for what Hamas has been doing, they've been bombing bases. They've been trying to take down their own, the Israeli bases. That's really all they've been doing.
But they went into kibbutzes and they slaughtered entire families. That's what the evidence seems to show. When they went even at the festival that they were having, a lot of people were killed out of there, and we have their names. They're obviously dead.
Again, this is whoever has died. I'm sorry for your loss again, but
it was over 1,300 people. I think.
Oh right, 1,300 people doesn't compare to the hundreds of thousands of women, children, and men that have been killed over 75 years. The hundreds and thousands.
But does it justify it? Do you think it's justified to do that? It's the single deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. That October 7th was. Do you think it justifies killing innocent people like that instead of, some people say military targets? Hezbollah, for example, has this view, it seems, where they seem to target military outposts instead of civilians. Do you think it justifies killing civilians like that, men, women, children?
Listen, what I could say, I can't speak on their behalf. I'm not over there on my behalf, but let me just say one thing. I have seen plenty of videos sent to groups of Hamas militants helping little kids, helping women, helping children, even Israeli women and Israeli children.
I want to listen.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, continue to hear.
They've been helping Israeli, kids and women and children, throughout the attack, even though they have been, trying to get their own land back. This is their land. This is their right. They're trying to get their land back. They've been trying to get their land back, and they've been helping them.
What's an example of what you're talking about?
So in one video, a woman had 2 kids with her, and the Muslims, the Hamas militants, they were, saying, don't harm them, don't harm them. This is all in Arabic. They were telling the other people, do not harm them. We want to show them that we're not like them. We're not gonna kill these kids, these women, and these children. We're sorry about what anyone has done, but I'm like this doesn't, what Israel has done over plenty of years, carpet bombing Gaza, carpet bombing, Jenin, Nablus, Hawara, Turmasaya, Bir Zayt, Ramallah. Carpet bombing any of these cities in Palestine doesn't justify anything. We're doing this to get our own land back. We're doing this to save our heritage, And there are plenty of Jews who aren't Zionists. These people, again, we don't have anything against Jews. I don't have anything against Jews. I have something against Zionists. Zionism. That's what the problem is.
What does Zionism mean to you?
It means, just Jews who take it too far and who, they kill innocent women and children for no reason.
Well, doesn't it mean you believe in establishing a Jewish state? That's the idea. It's Theodor Herzl's vision of a Jewish state.
Again, it could mean that, but to us it means them killing innocent women and children and men. Innocent people who don't deserve to be killed, who don't deserve this.
And you don't see a path to peace, because some people have suggested a return to 67 borders. That would be, the way to establish peace. But you're saying unless it's all back in the hands.
Well, it's not going to work. You know why? Sure. Because they have something called mowing the grass. They have it in Israel. They have something called mowing the grass. If you look into it, it's called the FIA or something like that. It's look it up. It's called mowing the glass, and that means they want to cleanse all the Palestinians. It's not something, we don't have hate. If you look into every video, I can show you many of them. They all wishes for us to die, kill us, bomb us. That's what they want. The problem is, if they want to truly take the war out, they need to take the guns down. They need to start taking all that stuff, pull it back. Nobody's going to kill you. We've been in the 1800s when the Ottoman Empire was there. We never had a problem with the Jews. One of the Jews had a dream of opening his own land, and with the help of the United States, that's how it became a country. Because with the Intifada, the first Intifada, before
the British.
Yes, but before the Jews, when they first came to Palestine, they had a Palestinian passport. You can look it up. What I'm saying is they stole the land. Even their flag is if you look it up, they stole it. Even the flag. So what I'm trying to say, you cannot build somebody indebted. I was born in Jerusalem. I was there when Yasser Arafat was passed away. I was
East Jerusalem.
What do you mean? Like West Bank? That's where I live. But our actual place where we live, it was taken, from Israel a long time ago when I wasn't even born. But what I'm trying to say is there's the fake news and all that kind of stuff that makes Muslim people look bad. But we're not bad people. In our religion, if you look it up, if we kill one person wrong, that means we killed the entire world. And if we save...
Wrong is the key word. So do you feel like any of the people that Hamas killed on October 7th...
What I'm trying to say is, the thing is, you cannot make the difference between those people are citizen or they're in the army. That's why they had to do
even for babies?
No, they didn't kill babies.
There's any evidence of a single child being killed?
There's none. Zero. Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure in the war something maybe happened, but there's no way.
October 7th.
No. Here, I can show you. Look, on my phone, I can show you hundreds of babies being murdered. Look.
Oh, I don't dispute that.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's happening.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, when they say Hamas that actually bareheaded people, all the news.
I'm not talking about beheaded. I'm talking about
what
just
I'm saying is,
killed.
they said they bareheaded people, bareheaded babies. That's wrong. They raped women. That's wrong. They're sending the that word Panajacana, like where the fake news, it can win, and eventually people will believe that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Sure, I'm not talking about beheaded or I'm talking about they did kill children, in that October 7th.
That's not
where
their
did all these
intention.
dead children show
You
up
can
from?
actually. Those are Gaza children.
No,
They're
I'm talking about the ones
Israeli
in it on October 7th in Israel.
What do you mean children? They're adults. They're not kids. They're not babies. They said
there's images of dead babies in Israel on October 7th.
those are Palestinian kids. They use our kids.
In October 7th, like those ones?
Yes, they use our kids. Our media with them. They use our Justin Pieper. The picture that he posted, it's Gaza people. It's not their people.
Hey, you guys don't want to talk to these people. They're gonna misconstrue everything you say. They're gonna edit everything you say.
Who am I?
Who am I? And put it against you guys.
I'm actually Persian, actually. But, okay.
There you go, man. You're good.
Sure.
Don't give
Okay.
them time of day.
There you go.
We want a ceasefire. We want peace.
Listen, if you believe in humanity, look it up. Islam has nothing to do with terror. Hamas has nothing to do with terror. They're not ISIS. That's all I'm saying.
Jews against Israel. Chicago Jews against Israel. We want peace in the Middle East.
Right. If I'm gonna I see you, you're in
Hey, listen, everybody right here is from Palestine.
Yeah.
Why they had to fight?
because for
everybody.
75 years,
For natural resources.
for 75
They want to
years,
try to go
they
into
want to take the
Egypt.
land.
They want to start conquering.
You need to learn the history. Since the time of the Prophet, they killed thousands of.
They had to stop fighting because the place from around the Palestine is a saint.
It's
from
a
God.
holy city, yes.
It's a holy city, but that's what
It's
they're trying to
everybody's
steal.
city.
You're from Mexico, right?
Yeah.
My wife is Mexican. Does that make sense to you?
But why you
let-
had to fight?
Here's
We're
what
not
I'm
fighting.
saying. Let's just say I come to
We're
Mexico
protesting.
and I
A
kick all the
peaceful
people out,
protest.
and this is my country now. As a Palestinian, how would you feel if I
Just
start
like-
kicking you
just
out?
like-
If you will go to my house and take it with guns to my place,
There you go.
No.
I can go
That's exactly.
out.
That's
I
exactly.
give you to my
You know
place.
what?
That's exactly
Just
what's
like
happening
Trump
in
tried to do to you guys.
That's exactly what's
You know
happening
how
in
Trump
Palestine,
tried to
bro.
take over Mexico? Israel trying to take over Palestine.
There you go. Here's a perfect example. Man, all you can
Trump
do
tried to
is
take
do
over
your-
Mexico?
He spent billions on a wall.
No, that's not to take over
He was
Mexico.
trying to take it over. Let's just
By
be
building
for
a
real.
wall?
Let's just be for real, yes.
I don't hate nobody. I lie.
I
because we
understand.
are
Thank you
brothers,
guys,
everybody.
appreciate it.
We got to peace.
All right, let's keep going. I didn't realize Trump tried to take over Mexico by building a wall. That's an I've never heard that before.
Well, about the West Bank, right now they're building more settlements. They're continuing to build settlement because we're supporting that government. The government in Israel is a racist government. Everybody knows that. So we need to stop it. They need to, as a country that these are our ally, we need to tell them to stop building settlements.
So why are we out here today?
To protest for Palestine, what's been going on for 75 years, a genocide. It's terrible what's happening to the Palestinians in the open air prison. They can't get out, no food, water, electricity. It's time that we stand up and do something for our people.
This didn't happen October 7th. This happened 75 years ago. Matter of fact, 3 months ago, the West Bank, there was over 250 that were murdered that were Palestinian. You didn't see that on the media.
When was this?
About 3 months ago in the West Bank. You did not hear about it in the media. They did not show it to anybody. Nobody here has no knowledge except the Palestinians who know and have family in the West Bank. So they are killing people in the West Bank and Hamas is not in the West Bank. So what is their excuse? They have no excuse.
So what would you say is the solution to this, since obviously there's a lot of killing being carried out currently by Israel towards Gaza, but then there's also Hamas carried out the October 7th attacks. What do you think is the solution to this?
The best solution is obviously to free. That's why we're here, to free the Palestinian people. Obviously, our chanting has nothing to do with anybody getting murdered. Our chanting is for people to be free and to stop the genocide and for people to live a normal life.
Sure, but what does that mean free? Does it just mean opening up the borders, or like what does that mean?
We want to bring awareness so that does happen.
Yeah, so we want the borders to be opened up. We want
them to live normal, like normal human beings.
We want them to have equal rights as everybody does in America.
Go to school, go to college. How about this? We don't even got to go that far. Just to grow up, because they don't make it past 18.
Yeah.
So basically, they're effectively treated like two different countries. People generally they want two different countries for them. That's why everyone always talks about the two-state solution.
Yeah.
Palestinians have their passport, Israelis have their passport. They don't want to live under a Jewish state. Jews don't want to live under a Palestinian state. So you can't just, obviously countries have borders. You can't just open it up. We kind of effectively do that, but not on purpose exactly. So if opening up the borders and just having no borders or nations, because in many ways, the West Bank, if you open up the borders, it's like you'd have a lot of settlers going in. Like you don't want that either.
That's
so
what been happening, so.
exactly.
Yeah.
But so what? Like that. Keeping that in mind, what is the solution exactly?
Solution is the two-state solution, but we want our own state with our own army, our own, we
So is
rule.
that 60? Is that 67 borders? What is that?
Well, it's been the Geneva Convention. Since the Geneva Convention, it was 1967 borders, but Israel don't want
Geneva. I think it was United Nations.
Yeah. And then the Jews don't want. They want the whole Palestine. They want everything.
So you guys would be happy with like 67 borders?
That's what we've been fighting for. That's what we want.
'Cause I've heard some people here say, take it all back. Like without, if it's not all back in the hands.
That's going to be near impossible to do. But we're happy with 67 borders.
And obviously, this attack that happened on 10/7 by Hamas, a lot of innocent people were killed in that attack.
Sides, yes, on both sides.
Is that something that
the attack on the 7th? It didn't come from a vacuum. It's been going on for the past 75 years.
We condemn that. We condemn the attack by them, the attack which happened. We don't want the attacks. We just say like cutting off the electricity, cutting off the water, cutting off the food, bombing on the hospitals. That doesn't make any solution. That's right. You have to free Palestine. There must be a lot of solutions, but the thing with war, you cannot win everything. There should be peace in everywhere. I want to say, like, cutting off everything, the resources from them would not let them win. We are with them. We will be with them, inshallah.
Do you think Hamas should release if they agreed to turn on the electricity and the water, it's in exchange for the hostages that are currently being kept by Hamas? Do you think that's an exchange they should make?
Rami?
Do you think in exchange for electricity, water, and supplies being supplied back to Gaza, do you think Hamas should release the hostages if that exchange was made? Like, is that something you would support?
Well, let me ask you this: what if why there has to be a condition to release the hostages in order to get to get food and water?
I guess you could say the same thing. Why would there be a condition on the hostages?
Israel's bombarding Gaza with bombs. You think they really care about the hostages? They're bombarding them with. And do they know where the hostages are?
Probably underground, I would imagine.
And they're still bombarding them. So they don't care if they murder them or not. And I hate to say that because they're innocent lives. Absolutely, they should not be murdered. But Israel is still bombarding Gaza when they know hostages are still there. That does not make any sense.
I want to make a message to the IDF. When is enough enough? Free the people. Let them live normal, just like me, you, and all of us here. We want to live normal lives and grow up and to be something. But unfortunately, they don't give them the opportunity over there in Gaza.
I lived in the West Bank for 12 years. You can't get from one point to another without
all checkpoints.
Checkpoints. They got them everywhere. So there's no freedom of movement, no freedom of speech. You can't even raise your flag in Palestine. Otherwise, you go to jail.
You go to jail for probably 25 years. That's just how they do it. They'll arrest you for no reason.
Do you guys think Israel has a right to respond to Hamas, though, and defend themselves against that attack?
Not the way they did. Not the way they did.
But you do recognize a right for them to do that?
Yeah, I recognize the right to defend themselves, so does the Palestinians. Yeah. This happened 75 years ago.
Yeah.
This is part of the battle. They've been battling with Israel for 75 years.
If you want to include them defending themselves, technically it's the Palestinians defending themselves. Because a couple months ago, Palestinians were killed. And it's almost like us, we're telling him back. They invade that Al-Aqsa Mosque, right? And they put tear gas in there and everything, but nobody hears about it. Nobody hears about the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
That's what happened, I think, a few days before 10/7, and that was used as a...
That happens almost every day.
Well, but there was like a big one with the rabbis that went in a few days before.
That almost happened every day, When Sharon did that, back in 1989, 90, it was a second intifada. It's because they went into the Aqsa Mosque, Everything's got a...
You think if a person can go into a place of worship and do that, is that okay? I'm asking you, is that okay?
They would also consider that area theirs because that's their Temple Mount.
I'm talking about the El Aqsa Mosque. When they put tear gas where they
I know, but
pray.
that's also their Temple Mount.
No, it's not.
It is. That whole area.
No, it's not.
I'm asking you a question. You're not
What is
answering. You're not answering.
You can understand Christianity, Muslim, and Judaism, and we lived fine before the occupation. Everybody was getting along just fine.
Sure, but wait, you guys are saying that's not the Temple Mount because that was like torn down last time in like around 70 AD.
It's for the Muslims.
Oh, I'm not saying like obviously, but there's that contention there because it's built on top of the Temple Mount.
To have peace, East Jerusalem is the capital of Palestine. That's a part of the peace process. You know what I mean? They can't have the whole thing. The East Jerusalem is the capital of Palestine. When we get a state, inshallah soon,
I think anybody that invades a place of worship, if that happened in America to a church and they're throwing tear gas in there, that would be considered terrorism. Don't you agree or no?
The word has finally gotten out, whether you're black, white, Muslim, whatever you are, the word is getting out. People are spreading, they know. It's not a war when it's one-sided. Israel is the number 4th strongest army in the world. You're talking about the fighting against a resilience group just like me or you that's been tired of being bullied for over 75 years. It's time for us to speak up.
Well, I don't know if it's the strongest military. I'd say America's probably stronger.
I said the number 4. I said number 4.
I'm sorry. I thought I heard strong.
Number 4.
And you can say there's no difference between America and Israel. You know what I mean? It's the same. I think they just get a state here.
It's the same military.
I think we just give them a state of, somewhere maybe in Montana or something.
Well, I would disagree with that. But, all right, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. So why are we out here today?
We are out here to support Palestine and call an end for the genocide that our lovely president Joe Biden and Netanyahu, as I like to call, are causing to happen.
Sure. And how are we going to go about that?
Man, we got to get our voices out there. We gotta group up as a country. We have to group up as a country as much as possible. Have our voices heard. There are a lot of people in the government resigning right now because of the atrocities that have come to light with everything social media and everything like that. People are waking up. It's slowly but surely. People are waking up.
And what's the solution, do you think, to this conflict or in general peace in the region? What do you think is the actual solution?
I mean, look, the actual solution, people here in this country unfortunately don't like it, but Israel needs to leave. I mean, Palestine is Palestine. Palestine is originally Palestine. Israel came over thanks to Britain, and then of course help with the United States and all that. They came in, they took over, and then they started kicking them out. The only solution is for Israel to leave. And hey, Britain, the EU, the United States, all the Western countries are in such favor of Israel. Find them some land and make them a country.
So that's probably not going to happen
Right.
as far as them leave. So I'm trying to figure out a more realistic solution because, even before, Israel was an official state, it was the British Mandate of Palestine, and then before that, they were under the control of the Ottomans. The Palestinians, even though they may have been recognized as Palestinians or the land as Palestine in general, it wasn't like an official state, like a governing body and things like that. So there were always Jews living in that area to some degree. So what do you propose as a realistic sort of solution, if you have one?
I mean, at the end of the day, the Jews aren't the issue. I mean, we have nothing against the Jews, and there are plenty of Jews pro-Palestine. The issue is the Zionists. These are the problem. The people basically controlling the media. And
what does Zionist mean to you?
Zionist is a terrorist. Zionists are the people causing this genocide right now.
If we read a dictionary definition, what does that mean?
Oh, I mean, let's Google it.
Okay. So from my understanding, it's this idea that Theodore Herzl came up with back like 150 years ago, where it's that you believe in establishing a Jewish homeland or a state for the Jewish people. Does that sound like an accurate definition?
I mean, it could be that. I mean, I have to Google the definition. But what a Zionist is right now is terrorist genocide. Terrorist genocide. Genocide Joe is what we're calling him. Genocide Joe Biden, and obviously Netanyahu, aka Satanyahu, we'll call him as well. He's He's a Zionist. We have plenty of reports and videos that have been surfacing, that have been around. Joe Biden talking about, we are always in support of Zionism, and the whole clip about Israel being, if it was never there, we would have to create an Israel for, the United States basically control and that stuff. I mean, it's just, they're terrorists. I don't know. What's the solution? I mean, if there's a realistic solution, which Israel always backpedals. I mean, when they call for ceasefires in the past, Israel would always, take the first shot in breaking that ceasefire. Now, obviously, the U.S. this time around was the one vote against the ceasefire, with the UN and everybody else. But I don't know. I mean, there isn't. I mean, people always say there's this whole two-sided solution or anything. No, there's no two-sided solution. It's one solution. That's it, and it's to expel the Israelis.
So one chant I've been hearing throughout this protest is something like "Intifada, Intifada. There is only one solution." Is that a chant you endorse, and what does that chant mean to you?
I do endorse it. Freedom.
What does Intifada mean to you?
Help out with the definitions here. I mean,
God, I don't know.
So you guys chant Intifada, but you don't know what it means, or like what does Intifada mean?
I mean, is this live?
So no, it's not live, but it's so the Intifada. There were two Intifadas before. Some people would argue we're currently in the midst of a third, but not necessarily. It's like an uprising of the people, and they typically engage in violence towards the other side. So when there were past Intifadas, they killed many Israelis in the process in this uprising. That's usually what people mean by Intifada.
Uprising, revolution. Unfortunately, there's going to be death on both sides.
Uprising of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza Strip aimed at ending Israel's occupation of those territories and creating an independent Palestinian land.
Exactly. There was like two different times that's referenced there. Or?
Look, I'm not a history buff. Sure. I mean,
there was one in 1987.
Yep. And then the other one was in the early 2000s.
Maybe it doesn't show the date of both.
So that's what it means. Is
basically revolution, freedom.
Would you consider October 7th an example of that? Is that something you endorse? What they killing of innocent civilians?
Here's the thing. They talked about the babies. That was a lie.
Babies were certainly killed in the process, whether they were beheaded or not. Some people say those are confirmed. They haven't necessarily shown it yet. But as far as killing, there have been children killed in that attack.
Israel came out and said that was a lie.
They haven't done that.
They had though.
They haven't.
They have.
I just spoke to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs representative the other day, and she said she'd seen the pictures, and she said,
come on.
Yeah,
They don't exist.
I'm not.
Here's the thing.
But I'm not talking about beheaded. I'm talking about dead children. Like there definitely were dead children.
Okay. Are we gonna look at 75 years worth of dead Palestinians?
Sure, but that's a bit of a whataboutism. We can condemn all that. How about this? I say the killing of innocents in Gaza is bad. It should be condemned, right?
Sure.
Can you say that the same about what was carried out on October 7th by Hamas and associated groups?
Look, I can say that we don't want to see innocent civilians dead on either side. Absolutely not.
Sure, but if you don't consider any of them innocent, for example, do you consider any Israelis innocent?
Absolutely.
Sure.
There's plenty of Israelis that are.
And you don't think a single one of those was killed in the 10/7 attack?
I'm sure there were people killed in the 10/7 attack.
That were innocent?
That were civilians.
Innocent?
Yes, they could be.
You just haven't seen any of them?
I mean, we've seen a lot of pictures, and we've seen a lot of reviews and a lot of lies. And again, I don't remember their names. But there was a girl who they talked about that she was kidnapped and killed. 2 days later, her mom came out and said, "Oh no, she's alive and well."
There's no evidence she's alive. Her mom says that, but there's been no evidence presented that she's alive.
Well,
if you had to bet everything, you think she comes back out of there alive, and we're going to see her talking?
It's possible. Yes.
We have no evidence of that.
Well, again, we have innocent until proven guilty. What about that? I mean,
I think it's pretty guilty when you kill 1,300 civilians or 1,300 people in Israel.
And it's not guilty when you're killing 5,000
No, I would say that's guilty.
Gaza?
But the difference is I can say that, but it
Plus-
seems like you won't say that for the other side.
No, I've already said that we don't condone innocent civilian deaths from either side. There are plenty.
But when I give specific examples, you just like say that either that didn't
because
happen or
I stand fully by the October 7th attacks. Fully.
really
fully.
So even though there were like kids and women and all they were killed in that,
there's always going to be people dying in the crossfire. It sucks. It's unfortunate. You know, it's unavoidable. But we also have to take into account 75 years of Palestinian genocide and all the casualties that have happened there, all the deaths, the cold-blooded murders. I mean, I often see people, I mean, again, a lot of the people here in the US or just in the West in general, they'll always consider Israeli lives much more significant and much more important than Palestinian lives.
Also, I want to get to the point why I interview you guys. You guys have the Egyptian flag over here.
Yeah.
So obviously Egypt borders Gaza. At one point, Egypt even, like Gaza was kind of like under their tutelage and all that. So what do you think Egypt's policy should be with respect to Gazans, the Palestinians? Because it doesn't seem like they're willing to allow any refugees into Egypt. And with respect to the Rafah crossing, that's only like foot traffic. They don't even allow like supplies through there. There may be some Israeli, reasons for that. But as far as Egypt's role in this whole thing, what do you think their line should be with respect to Gaza, refugees, all of that? Because they're not allowing any.
Okay, so the Egypt situation is a bit complicated. In terms of aid, we'll start off with that. Sending aid over, they have hundreds of trucks lined up, and just today, was it either today or yesterday? It was this morning. Just this morning, Israel finally allowed a few trucks to cross the border. Egypt is always, whenever Israel attacks Gaza or, the West Bank, as the people in the West Bank are obviously being harassed and killed as well. When Israel does attack Gaza, Egypt is always the first to send aid and always the first to send help, always. Anytime the Egyptians cannot cross the Rafah border, it's because of issues from the Israeli side. And then they bombed it several times already. So with regards to aid, Egypt comes to aid.
What about refugees?
With regards to refugees, here's the problem. If we open the borders, I mean, Egypt already has their own issues, economically and things like that. But generally, it has issues. No country is perfect. With regards to refugees, let's say we open the borders. All the Palestinians are going to flee. Most Palestinians will flee from Gaza. Israel won the war, the quote-unquote war. It's not a war. I hate referring to it as a war, but Israel will win and take over the land. There's been many interviews about a bunch of Israeli officials saying, we want to open a tent city in the Sinai Peninsula for Egypt, and we're going to rebuild Gaza, and once it's safe to come back, we'll invite everybody back. That's a bunch of BS.
So you're saying the reason for Egypt not accepting is because they don't want to participate in the ethnic cleansing that Israel wants to carry out? That's effectively the reason?
Absolutely. In addition to also, containing the safety of the Egyptian people as well. I mean,
do you think there's any concern, for example, from the Egyptian side, because they have their issues with Hamas, like the Islamic Brotherhood and Hamas? They think, we can't properly vet these people. They might come in, some Hamas people might come through, and they worry maybe something similar as what happened in Lebanon with the Palestinian Liberation Organization, something like that could happen in Egypt. Do you think there's like concerns there as well? It's not just like the ethnic cleansing aspect.
In addition, as we know, Egypt has basically considered the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization. And hey, so the whole Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas, there's a little bit of turmoil when you talk to some people about both sides. I'm not a fan of the Muslim Brotherhood. People are gonna, talk, some crap about that. I'm not a fan of the Muslim Brotherhood. I'm not a fan so much of Hamas because of the whole alliance with the Muslim Brotherhood. But, it's a big but. I will choose Hamas over Israel any day.
Who do you think should be in control of Gaza if you had your preference over like the existing political parties out there?
Like within the ones that exist in Palestine?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously not Hamas. If that was, somebody was.
It's not Islamic Jihad, I would assume.
Absolutely not.
So which one would you?
I mean, look, the guy who's in charge right now, Abbas, he's.
So Fatah. You'd like Fatah in charge?
What's on?
Fatah.
Fatah.
That's Abbas's party.
Oh. Sorry. Yeah. Look, they are not the greatest, but it's a start. I mean,
Hamas kicked them out, by the way, out of Gaza. That's why they're not in control there.
Yeah, I mean, they would have probably gotten killed at this point as well. But it's a little complicated with that. I'm not a fan of Abbas so much. I feel like he's a puppet to Israel and America, but at the same time, his hands are held, or his hands are tied back because, Israel and America are in control of everything. So, I mean, if we're picking, it's not even the lesser of two evils or the lesser of three evils, but it's kind of the best thing that they might have at this point right now would be Abbas and his crew.
So why are we out here today?
We are out here to protest the 75 years of ethnic cleansing.
Oh, you don't need to get that close. I'll hold it.
It's all good. To protest the 75 years of the Israeli ethnic cleansing of the terrorist genocidal movement known as Zionism, which, by the way, is not Judaism. We are here to protest the extra, give or take, 20 so years of the British occupation before the Israeli occupation. So Palestine has not been free in over 100 years now, but mostly to protest the recent, on the 7th, you heard that on the 5th, I believe, the Palestinians finally, for the first time in Gaza, for the first time in about 17 years, broke the wall, the separation wall, segregation wall, apartheid wall. They broke through and were able to cross to the other side of occupied Palestine. And on the 7th, the Israelis decided to just carpet bomb all of Gaza. So now they are facing another humanitarian crisis, and for the first time in a very, very long time, all Palestinians are coming together in what might now be looking like a third intifada, which is something they've all tried to avoid for the past 23 years. But now there's like this huge, war that Israel is very well actively participating in on the ongoing genocide and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. But primarily those in Gaza, because they have always been the target in the world's largest open-air prison.
Sure. So you mentioned the crossing of the border in Gaza for the first time. So that was obviously October 7th. When they did that, they killed, I think, over like 1,300 people on the other side, Israelis primarily. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that's justified, men, women, children?
The killing of anyone is never justified.
In self-defense, it would be justified.
If the Palestinians, are acting in self-defense, which they were, then yes, it's justification.
You think they, on that day when they crossed and they killed men, women, children, that was justified as self-defense?
A lot of it, the stories have been proven, a lot of them have been proven to be false, but I will also not lie that, a lot of the killings have happened. The Palestinians have been giving them warnings for the past 25 years saying that they don't want to do this. But when they did cross the fence, when they came into their occupied homeland that has been occupied for the past 75 years, I believe it was justified, much like the apartheid in South Africa was justified, much like the Algerian people.
The apartheid was justified, or the actions against apartheid?
The actions against apartheid in South Africa, and then the the French occupation in Algeria, the 100+ years of that was justified by the Algerians. Also here, we're in Chicago right now. We are on native land, and so what all the indigenous people of Turtle Island have done, that is justified. So why is Palestine always the exception of things not being justified?
You mentioned the native. This is something I've heard. Do you believe it would be justified if people of Native American ancestry, whatever that is considered, decided to go into the homes of people here in Chicago and murder them in their beds? Do you think that would be justified?
Like I said before, murder is always wrong. That I would not. I can't speak. I can't speak on the behalf of the natives, right? Because the people that live here, I would hope they are not actually participating in the genocide of the indigenous communities of Turtle Island, of Chicago. I would hope not.
Well, these would be considered settlements in some respect, right?
Right.
So if you are, I'm kind of going by your logic with respect to Israel. If they're participating in these settlements here in Chicago, do you feel like it would be justified in committing, basically killing these people who are now considered occupiers? Do you think the natives would be justified in doing that?
If said people occupying, like the people that were occupying this now, were actively going out there and killing the indigenous people, that would be justified. But if they're just chilling, if they're just living side by side, not actually participating in the genocide, then no, I believe murder is wrong in any aspect. But
So you think those children in the Israeli territories around Gaza were participating in killing Gazans?
children are always innocent.
Okay, but there were children that were killed in the attack by Hamas and others.
But why do we always talk about Hamas? Why do we never talk about the Palestinian children? Why do we not talk about the recent
I talk about them all the time, but I'm talking about, because you're obviously representing the Palestinian side. If there were Israeli people, I'd be asking them that question, but they're not here.
Right.
But for you, do you condemn what Hamas did that day in doing a lot of that?
As a non-Palestinian person, it is not up to me to support or condemn.
But you can, as a non-Palestinian, you could still say I don't agree with that. I'm not saying and it's not in your name, but
I will say like this: the killing of innocent children, no matter what side they are on, in my eyes, is never okay. But we have also seen proof that CNN, that Israel itself, has also fabricated a lot of the stories. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but they did fabricate a whole majority. And they even said that they fabricated the whole Hamas killing babies, the whole Hamas kidnapping people.
Wait, who on the Israeli side said they fabricated that?
The IDF, the government.
The IDF said they fabricated?
Yeah, and then later they
what's the source for that? Is that like a tweet? Was that in an article?
No,
what's the source exactly?
The people in the government, Netanyahu even said in a statement, even CNN, they did their own coverage saying, we actually don't have any proof of this. There was one news reporter.
No, I agree with that. CNN did say that part, but that's not the same thing as the IDF saying we fabricated
exactly.
something. They just said we're not going to confirm with respect to this sort of stuff.
Right, but then there were earlier times where they did say we don't have proof of this, but then they're going back to the claim that they're trying to even make up this further lie, or when they bombed the recent hospital, the 500 people in Gaza, and they even bombed a church, by the way. But they keep going back and saying that there were Hamas targets there. It was all children. It was majority children and journalists that were in that hospital. And in that church.
The IDF said there were Hamas targets there?
Yeah.
When did they say that?
When they bombed the church, that was or when they bombed the hospital, killing the 500 plus.
I saw the IDF. I think I saw there was this influencer guy, Hanania Naftali, who said something like that, and he deleted the tweet.
He did delete the tweet, yep.
And there's obviously a lot of shadiness with that because Netanyahu spoke at that guy's wedding. He kind of works for Netanyahu. Yeah. But the IDF, from my understanding, never said anything like that. And so far, the Associated...
That's because they deleted them.
Well, I never saw any evidence of any of the leaks, but the Associated Press, American intelligence, Israeli intelligence, and many other independent people who analyze this said it does look like a Hamas rocket that failed. They have the video where they track it going up, failing, and then coming down in that area. But then there's Al Jazeera and Channel 4 and others that dispute that. But
it is the fact that the Israeli government, which basically is the IDF in many aspects, is just how it goes in the Zionism, just Israel itself, their government is military. Their whole focus is just
But I never saw
IDF.
I never saw IDF.
But the government itself did say their justification for bombing a hospital with children, with sick people, with journalists, the justification was because there were Hamas targets there.
Yeah, I only saw that from Hanania Naftali. I never saw. You might be right, but I never saw that with respect to their government.
This is not the
But the other thing I want to talk about, you talk about occupation, whether that's currently with respect to Israel or before under the British. What about before that? Do you feel like the Ottomans were also occupying forces in that region, or does that count as well?
Yeah. As a person who grew up in a town that was heavily Ottoman occupied, I myself am Turkish Armenian and other mixed nationalities. There was the whole Ottoman occupation there too, for a good stretch of time.
Sure. And what about before the Ottomans? What was it before the Ottomans?
Before the Ottomans, it depends on how far back you want to go. But at one point it was Canaan land, where actually, like even in Gaza, they had a.
Is it Canaan land?
Canaan land.
So that's like 2,500 years ago.
That's a long time ago, but in more recent.
I'm sorry. More. It's even further back than that.
More recent, I guess, like the 1200s when the Greeks were there. There was like a good part in history before, well, I don't even know who, but there's a good part in history where in Gaza and like the rest of Palestine, they did have this community where the Jewish people were allowed to make wine, they were allowed to sell it. The Muslims and Christians like co-inhabited, and then along the Judaic people, along with the Israelis, because Palestinians themselves are the nomadic Semites too. There's the whole argument Zionism tries to make that Palestinians are, less than. They've been compared to animals. They've been called anti-Semites, but they are a Semitic people. Even the Arab Palestinians, who don't make up for all of Palestine, but there are Semitic Palestinians that are Jewish, Christian, Muslim, atheist, Druze, all of it.
But they never had like an actual Palestinian state, like a proper state government.
It went by a different name. The Greek one was like Palestine, but it was
that
more
was
like
the name of like the region and the
region.
People, but
it was Canaan land, but to be fair, like I don't know enough of the history, so I can't speak about it. I would rather ask a Palestinian person. But they always tried to self-govern, and it's just been difficult with like the Ottomans, the British, even the Arab Revolution, the revolt that happened in the 30s. But more so, like the British mandate did not allow for them to self-govern. Even like the Israeli Zionist occupation never allowed for there to be the state of Palestine. Even the Palestinian Authority is actually owned and supported by Israel, so they don't even have the rights to even control their own, even though they're called Palestinian Authority.
So what do you think the solution is at the end of the day? I'm talking like a practical solution, not like a dream solution. Like,
right.
Realistically, do you think it's a return to 67 borders? What do you think is the realistic solution?
Well, I think the one solution for peace that we had was with Abbas and the I forgot his name, but it was the past Israeli prime minister. It was when Abbas and him, with the Oslo Accords, I believe the 93.
Oh, was that the guy who was assassinated?
Yeah, and he was literally assassinated, and the reason being, I encourage everyone to actually watch this film called The Waldorf. It's based on the Waldorf Hotel in Bethlehem, but it actually covers the history too of what happened and how we got here. And it was actually a viable solution for peace, because Abbas, the Palestinian Liberation organizer, was actually working with the Israeli prime minister at the time. Again, I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but they were working side by side for a peace resolution. And at that point, a two-state solution actually looked very viable when they signed the Oslo Accords and everything, which still holds up to this day, by the way, the Geneva Convention, the Oslo Accords.
Well, doesn't the Oslo Accords kind of go against the like the UN's like 1967 borders, because it kind of allows for those settlements, doesn't it? It kind of has like those different lands, the A, B, and C, as far as like the designation. It kind of allows for settlements, doesn't it?
It will always allow, because as long as Zionists continue to, thrive and exist, you see year after year, the borders get smaller, less and less of Palestine is existing. Even the West Bank, currently where my friend stays in Bethlehem, which is itself like very segregated from the rest of the West Bank. But this year alone, I talk to him every day, and he's saying they're there like daily now, which is by law, by international law, which, as we all know, Israel has not upheld and does not even care to uphold. By international law, they are not allowed to be in the West Bank, let alone in Bethlehem and Bethlehem, but they are there every day now. But I was to answer your previous question, they actually would like cover that, like peace was like for a brief moment in time was very, very possible. But then Netanyahu, before he became, with the prime minister that he is today, his whole party just rallied. He tried to rally everyone around to do this whole like brainwashing and saying like the Palestinians don't want peace, they're terrorists, they're animals, when actually Abbas was like really working with the Israeli prime minister at the time to like gain peace, and then he got assassinated, and then things just went to after that.
Well, Abbas didn't get assassinated.
He did. Well,
Abbas is the current. He's the. You're talking about.
Oh no, not Abbas.
Yasser
Arafat. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the correction. Yes, Yasser Arafat. Yeah, Arafat actually was the one that got assassinated, and then shortly after, the Israeli prime minister got attacked as well.
Yeah.
So, and then Netanyahu. you know, became the prime minister. What was it this year? Recently,
Well,
yeah.
it was-
I mean, he's always
and
been in
also
charge.
before.
Yeah, he's
He was
always
also
been
before, but yeah, it's
on some board of
it was like
directors.
Yair
Yeah,
Lapid for a little bit. And yeah.
but yeah.
All right, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Social media links are in the description box below, as well as merch. Support us at nuancebro.com/join, and I'll see you next time. Bro.